What's up, BookTube? It's Leah Cooper, and today I'm bringing you my June TBR. Before I get into my June TBR, I think it's irresponsible not to say anything about what's going on in the world. I'm obviously a white person living in white America. I come from a very isolated and privileged background and community. I'm not an expert voice on anything that's happening, but I do think that just total silence or ignoring a situation does nothing but benefit the oppressor. And right now that's institutionalized racism in America. So one of the things I'm going to be doing later in the month is this month's monthly book recs topic is resistance literature. So that could be fiction, that could be nonfiction, that could be poetry, etc. I'll leave a link to the Goodreads group down below if you are making a list of resistance literature and you'd like to just use the hashtag so that the rest of us in the group can find your recs. That'd be really awesome. So I'll be making a rec video later on in this month. I've also donated to a few different defense funds and GoFundMes. I will leave a link to those down below. I didn't want to make another and post another video on my channel without at least saying something. And I've basically been waiting to get my unemployment check so that I could donate to a bunch of places. And it deposited today, and I feel like there's literally no better thing I could spend the government's money on than supporting the people who have been hurt by that government and terrorized by that government and who are being actively persecuted by that government. Now that I've touched briefly on those topics, I'll gracelessly transition to talking about a handful of the things I plan to read in June. I was originally thinking I might do a Jane Austen June, but I decided not to do that. I don't feel like it's the right time. In June, I'm mostly just going to be focusing on reading a couple of arcs. Several books coming out in July that I need to read before July and do reviews for. So the first arc I'm going to be reading, and I'm currently reading it, is Unraveled at Dusk by Elizabeth Lim. This is the second book in the Blood of Stars trilogy. I read the first one, which was Spin the Dawn, back in the summer or the fall. It might have been the fall. And I requested this as an arc. I loved the first half of Spin the Dawn. I did not like the second half. I'm about almost a third of the way through the sequel, so we'll see how that goes. Definitely expect a full single video review of that book later in the month. The other arc I am for sure going to be reading in June is Shielded by Kaylin Flanders. This is the first book in a series, I think just called Shielded. Probably a trilogy. It's another YA fantasy. Both of these arcs are YA fantasy. This is described as for fans of Sorcery and Thorns and Furyborn. It is about a princess who is a second born in a kingdom at war. She doesn't have her brother's magical abilities, but she is a good warrior, and she thinks she'd be really beneficial on the battlefield, but her father plans to marry her, I think, in a political marriage. That's really all I know about it. I requested this as an arc several months ago because way back, several months ago, probably about 6 months ago, I was transferred to the kids department at work, which includes the YA, middle grade, and kids, and I wanted to make it more of an effort to read more YA so that I knew what was coming out and what was popular, and I requested this arc as part of that endeavor. Of course, since been laid off, but I'm still down to keep dipping my toes into YA and finding some stuff that I think is really good and that I would like to rec to people. So I'll be reading that. Again, expect a full video review of that later this month. I have 2 other arcs I might try to get to this month. Both of them aren't, the books aren't coming out until October, so they're not super high priority, but I do have them and I would like to read them. Both of them are from Rebellion Publishing. One of them is Phoenix Extravagant by Yoon Ha Lee. Yoon Ha Lee wrote The Machineries of Empire, which I really enjoyed. This, I think, is their first truly fantasy novel. It is about a painter who's recruited by the Ministry of Armor to paint the magical sigils that animate the occupying government's automaton soldiers. So I'm very curious about this. I'm really hoping I love it as much as like Nine Fox Gambit. And then the other arc coming out, the other arc I just got today is Northern Wrath by, hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly, Tilda Cold Holt. This is I would say it's an epic fantasy. It is very long. It's 700 pages. And it is inspired by Norse mythology. The bonds between the gods and Midgard are weakening. It is up to Hilda and a bunch of other characters to fight to save the old ways from dying out and to save their gods in the process. And when I got the little email about this in my inbox today, I was kind of like, epic fantasy, not really my thing. But I decided to go ahead and look up the author on Goodreads and look up the book. I'm not sure if this is a debut. I kind of suspect it is because the author only has 3 followers on Goodreads. Let me double check. Yeah, she doesn't have any other books listed on Goodreads. But the Goodreads summary says, following in the steps of Neil Gaiman and Joanne Harris, the author expertly weaves Norse myths and compelling characters into this fierce magical epic fantasy. So I'm not a fan of Neil Gaiman, but I love Joanne Harris. She wrote Chocolat. And I think that those two authors as a comparison, or like mashing those two authors, is so weird that I'm very intrigued to see how someone is comparing an epic fantasy to Joanne Harris. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a try, even though it's a little bit outside my genre. I am curious about it. Then I also have one other arc. It is for a book that already came out. It actually came out last year. Yeah, it came out April 2019, so over a year ago. I requested it before it came out last year, and I wasn't approved for it until like January of this year. I'm not really sure what's up with that, but it's Riverland by Fran Wilde. So this is Fran Wilde's newest middle grade book. I think it's middle grade. And it has been on, even though I didn't get approved for an arc of it, it was still on my TBR of things I wanted to pick up and try to read from Fran Wilde. So being approved for an arc copy even so long after the publication date, I am really curious about that. So since it's already published, I don't like have a firm deadline for when I need to get it read outside of the archive date on NetGalley. It's probably the 3rd arc I'll try to get to. Like, I'll probably try to get to Riverland before I read the October arcs, since I have even more time for them. But yeah, again, all of these books I'll be trying to do, if I read them in their entirety, I'll be doing full individual reviews for. Okay, so that's 5 arcs. That's quite a bit of reading planned for this month. I'm also currently I've checked out an audiobook. I haven't really started listening to it, but hopefully I will listen to it this month. And that is Arabella of Mars by David D. Levine. I think that's his name. This is the first series in the Arabella series, which I understand to be like science fiction steampunk. So it's like clockwork, it's like steampunk, but they have sail ships that they sail between the planets, which is sounds delicious. So hopefully I have some time to listen to that audiobook this month. So I mentioned in my wrap up last month that I had fallen a little bit behind in my 20 books to read in 2020 because of how long The Historian took me to read. Like, The Historian took me 81 days, I think, according to my spreadsheet. That was just really long. And obviously 20 books in 12 months means many months I need to be doubling up anyway. So falling behind means I need to read like 2 books off the list per month till the end of the year. So I've always wanted to do like a TBR jar type project, and I decided to combine my 20 books to read in 2020 list with that, just to kind of give me some structure or inspiration / challenge for reading 2 of those books per month. So I've got all the little titles there. I think there's 14 books left on that list, and I'm going to go ahead and Probably what I should do is I should probably pull out 3 names and then from those 3 pick 2. Right. Anyway, okay. So first one is Cloud Atlas. And obviously the third one that I don't choose will just go back in the jar. Second choice is In the Cities of Coin and Spice. So that's a Catherine M. Valente novel. And the third option is Practical Magic. So personally, I would prefer to read Practical Magic more in the fall, sometime between September and November. That's when I would prefer to read that. So I think this month I'm just going to go ahead and say the 2 books off the list that I will endeavor to read this month are going to be Cloud Atlas and In the Cities of Coin and Spice. So Cloud Atlas is David Mitchell's novel. They made the movie about it. I love the movie. I've always really wanted to read the book because I do know that they are structurally, I think, different. And then In the Cities of Coin and Spice is the sequel to In the Night Garden by Catherine M. Valente, which is a fairy tale, stories within stories within stories novel by Catherine M. Valente. I read the first one maybe 2 years ago, and I was able to get a copy of the sequel through work. Like we've had one copy in our system the entire year I worked there, and I managed to get it. I'm actually very excited. Those are 2 slightly long. Let me grab them. You know something that's crazy is literally these 2 books plus Practical Magic were literally next to each other on the shelf, on that specific 20 and 20 shelf. So this is Cloud Atlas, and then this is In the Cities of Coin and Spice. One thing I will say is both of these books are kind of long. Cloud Atlas is just over 500 pages. Yeah, it's like 515 pages. In the Cities of Coin and Spice is also about 515 pages, though it's also, you can tell, well, this is slightly small for a trade, but you can see that In the Cities is an oversized trade, so it's a bit long. But I'm very excited to read both of these books, so I think it'll be pretty good. You know, I was looking at this woman on the cover of this, and she looks a lot like Catherine M. Valente, like a younger Valente, I say. So yeah, that's pretty rad. I've been really anxious to do this TBR because I've been really wanting to pick what I'm going to read off that 20 and 20 shelf. And yeah, I'll go ahead and stick these little tabs in here, maybe use them as bookmarks, and we'll see how I do. So that's my TBR, about 7 books, 8 books if you include the audiobook. Not too bad, though several of them are pretty long, so we'll see how many I manage to get through, and we'll also see if I get any ebooks in at the library. I don't think I really have anything on hold. I've gone ahead and decided I'm not going to read A Memory Called Empire or Gideon the Ninth at the moment. I'm not going to get to the debut category for the BookTube SFF Awards, and I'm making peace with that. I still read 3 out of the 4 categories I had planned to read this year, and I think that's pretty great. So anyways, thanks for stopping by and watching this TBR. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you'll consider checking out those links down below to various organizations if you're looking for places to donate your money, or families to support, or I hope you endeavor to do your own research to find people to support in these times if you have the means and the ability to do so. But yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.